With the recent announcement of 2 confirmed positive cases of coronavirus disease, COVID-19, in the British Virgin Islands, emotions have been on an all-time high. Reporting for the Ministry of Health and Social Development, I am Adriana Salvarall with a special 2-part GIS report on coping with COVID-19. So today my guest is Dr. June Samuel, psychiatrist of the BVI Health Services Authority. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yes, and under these circumstances, you know, we're here and we're smiling.
Yeah.
But it is a bit of a tense,
anxiety-provoking situation.
Indeed.
Yes.
So we're just gonna go right into it. On just sitting from where your expertise and observing everyone's response to all the different events. Mm-hmm. Well, how would you explain it? How would you rate it? How persons are coping?
So I think that different groups of persons are coping differently. Generally, there's a lot of anxiety, mm-hmm. and that is understandable. But the levels of anxiety are different in different sectors of the population. And the anxiety levels are different for different reasons because, you know, everybody has different needs. And one of the things about this situation is that we all want to know that our needs are going to be met. Mm-hmm. So depending on what your need is, you know, you will have anxiety about that. I've seen it shift, I would say. So initially, you know, when it was a public health emergency declared mm-hmm. in China, I think that those of us who are in health were paying close attention because we understand the buzzwords, right?
Right.
But the rest of the general public, you know, maybe not so much. And then, so there's a little bit of lull. Mm-hmm. Some of us were a little bit more anxious because we understood from the beginning what the issues were going to be. And then I think when it got to the US,
that's when it really
because we have this saying in BVI, when the US catches coughs, people in the Caribbean catch a cold, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's now in the US, and everybody's now, because we have family in the US, we have connections there, or food connections, a lot of our connections mm-hmm. are tied in with the US. So then I think, you started to see, and I saw it on social media as well, where, people started to get really antsy, like, what we
Toilet
doing?
Paper.
Yeah, what we doing? We need to shut down the ports, we need to stop. So, you saw the anxiety levels going up. And then I think the next...
But before you go too far into expo, well, we know anxiety, but for persons who aren't too clear on what anxiety is or what it means, can you give like a general definition of it?
So anxiety is a normal emotion. I mean, we feel it. We all know what it feels like. You feel nervous, you feel tense, you're having a lot of worrying thoughts. Mm-hmm. You're starting to have physical symptoms, so your heart is racing, you may be getting palpitations, you may be breathing more rapidly than usual. Mm-hmm. Some people get upset stomachs, so they get diarrhea, they get tummy aches. And you get a little bit more irritable. In children, it shows up with, children may be acting out, they may become more clingy.
Right.
They're worried about mommy and daddy, they don't want to let you out of their sight, not sleeping well. Okay, so, people will have a variety, a range of symptoms as it relates to anxiety, depending on whether it's just mild or, whether you're having like really a total panic episode, right? And we've had some people who are having that. So
I think every time there's a decision
is made,
there is a whole nother wave of emotions, mm-hmm. and even people are even kind of expressing it or responding to different groups, even at each other, at home. For the parents who are homeschooling, mm-hmm. the children might be getting it, because I've seen that some of it is funny. But some of it is really real life when a child can't get the homework right. You know, what's 5 plus 7? And they say 2.
Yes.
And the parent come out with a belt.
Yeah.
Like.
Yes, I do. Because I have a 10-year-old at home, and you know, there's so them being at home is comforting on one hand because okay, they're at home, but for some people it may bring an added layer of stress because you may not have the support to make sure the children are being properly supervised.
Right.
And then for the most of the schools, you have to report in via some technology what the child is doing.
And that is a whole nother...
And that's a whole other, let's learn how you do this here. And even for me, you know, I was like, really? How you do that?
Exactly. I mean, I think I got something that my daughter has to sign into, and I haven't looked at it yet.
Oh,
and they've been...
You're behind, Adrian.
I'm way behind.
Because you're supposed to put it in every day.
Phew, we gotta have some this weekend sessions.
Yes,
clearly
you have a week.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is, you know, yes, we're working with technology, but again,
people still have a challenge with figuring it out.
People may have a challenge figuring out if parents are not technologically savvy, you know. So all of those things, and that is happening on top of, okay, we're having a pandemic. Am I going to have enough food to eat? Am I going to still have a job?
Right.
Am I going to be able to pay my bills? So essentially the situation presents like multiple layers of stressors that people are having to deal with. And then depending on which group you're falling into, you know, you have the specifics of that situation. So for example, one that I'm very sensitive about right now is the healthcare workers. So our healthcare workers who are on the front line, this is a particularly challenging time for them, right?
I can imagine.
Because one of the things is, you know, as I was saying to you earlier, it's a pandemic. There isn't anybody in my generation or the generation before me that has been through a pandemic, right? It is a new situation.
So it's like, how can you tell people who haven't really experienced it and you haven't experienced it, how do both of you cope?
Exactly. And that's the challenge. So if you think back 2017, category 5 approaching us and the anxiety that created, and also think of the responses then. You know, okay, we've never had a category 5. Okay, maybe it will go away. Okay, maybe, you know, we'll be okay. You know, there's a sense of, because you haven't experienced it, there's almost like a disconnection to the event. And then you had the whole event and then all the issues after. So a pandemic is new. The emotions, the behaviors are similar. The responses are similar. Okay, well, yeah, it was in China. Maybe it's not coming. Okay, then it was in the US. Let's shut the borders. We'll all be protected. And I think, you know, up until the point, so we had no cases. And I think for some people, that put them in a particular kind of comfort zone. So our borders were closed. And
I panicked.
And we had no cases.
That no cases thing was like, I felt like the boogeyman was coming after me. Like the walls were closing in.
Right.
Just waiting into, you know, at least for me, my own. I was just like, just waking up every day with a, what's the result? What's the report?
Yes.
What's it going to be?
Right. So you see, there's some of us who, that's exactly what it was. Like, okay, we're waiting for that case to show up because we're sure it must be here somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, that's the kind of, and that has a certain level of anxiety associated with it, right? Other persons in the general public who may not, you know, we're not public health specialists out there. No cases, okay, maybe we're doing okay, maybe we can relax a little bit. And then all of a sudden we have 2 cases. And
pending.
Then 3 hours or 4 hours later, then we're hearing, okay, yeah, you're going on lockdown from Friday.
Yeah.
So you see the response. So people just, you know, so because it's such a rapidly evolving situation, we will be anxious. And I need people to understand that being anxious in this situation is expected. But what we want is for persons to bring some control. Anxiety is just an emotion. you have control over that emotion, right? And do things to keep that emotion in check, because if you don't, then what happens is you get more and more anxious. If you have a tendency to have panic episodes, you'll start having panic attacks. If you have a tendency to be depressed, you start getting depressed. And then you just become so anxious that you make irrational decisions.
Right, like buying like 4 cases of toilet paper. I don't understand.
Or
when I'm over here and I'm like, I don't even have one, but we'll figure it out.
Or doing things like going and standing in a line with a lot of people.
That will put you more at risk.
It puts you at risk. But you see, we understand that, okay, people have needs and they want to make sure their needs will be met. But it's important to think. So stop. That's what I've been telling people. Stop. When you're going to make a decision and take some action, stop first. Take a deep breath. Look at where you're at. Where are you at? What is it that you're going to do? Is this the right decision at this point in time? Okay, and that, that can help in terms of, making decisions that are more appropriate and helping to keep your anxiety levels under control. So in any situation, your child comes to you because they're doing their homeschooling and they need to get this stuff uploaded, because some children are like that. Mommy, it has to be in by 3 o'clock, and you're feeling irritable and you're feeling like, okay, you're going to lash out right now. Stop. Take a deep breath. Take 2 breaths. Count to 5.
Count to 10.
Count to 10. And then respond.
What are your tips about coping with stress at work? For those persons who are still at work, that is. It might be a lot now because we're approaching the curfew, and you're trying to get everything done. You're trying to get everything done by tonight or by tomorrow before the deadline. And you really don't want to have that episode in front of your colleagues. So what are some tips to help persons who are coping at work during this time of transition?
So one of the first things is start first by using the information that you have, right? So we're dealing with a particular situation. It's a public health situation around coronavirus. We're concerned about spread. Okay? So the first thing is everybody needs to try to be safe and be as safe as possible. So in the workplace, at home, in the grocery store, wherever you are, you try to look out for your personal safety first, right? So maintaining the social distance, all the keeping your hands clean, don't put your hands in your face. Make sure you're doing that in every situation. That's at work too. Because remember, at work, once the pressures mount up and the deadlines are in your face, that's when we will drop our guards and act irrationally, right? So safety first. Then at work, teams. I've been pushing the whole team approach, right? Okay. So as a team, if you have to have a meeting first thing in the morning, try to check in how everybody is doing, looking out for everybody, doing some breathing, doing a prayer, whatever, to try to get everybody on the same page, and then outline what it is we're going to do today. And, be realistic. Don't set unrealistic expectations, right? Because
I have a real unrealistic list. I have like 3 different grocery stores I'm trying to get into, and the bank, and maybe like 2 other little miscellaneous stores. And I'm trying to do that all before 5 o'clock.
Yes, and when you think about doing all of that, it makes you even more nervous and anxious.
I probably won't, and I might end up doing just the bank. I might.
Right.
So
setting realistic targets in terms of what can really be done, what may be done differently. So do I really have to go into the bank, or can I go online? Do I really have to go into the grocery store, or what I have at this point will last till next week?
I'm sure right? It
can. So being realistic, exactly. So bringing that kind of thought process to everything that you have to do, and just focus on doing the things that you must do. Everything else, you just let it go over to the next day, right? So that's important, I think, at work, and it applies almost in probably every area of life now that we're going to be dealing with, being realistic.
Well, on the Government of the Virgin Islands Facebook, we posted up something asking persons if they had any questions about managing or dealing with their mental health or coping with the stress surrounding COVID-19. So I just wanted to read some of the questions out to you to get your response. Let me get that right now. Because I find that everybody is very vocal with their feelings. And before, a couple of years ago, there used to be like a stigma to actually expressing that you're having a challenge with mental health, or persons wouldn't want to say that they're depressed because they don't want to be placed on medication, or they don't want to go to a doctor or a psychiatrist or counselor or someone. They just say, oh, let's just pray it off or sleep it off and it'll be fine. But before I get to those questions, how important is it to have somebody to talk to?
It's very important. Very, very important. So one of the things I've been saying to groups I've been speaking to is this situation is not going to disappear tomorrow. So that's the first thing. When we talk about being realistic about what we're dealing with a new health situation for which our public at general has no immunity.
Right.
Okay? It means everybody is at risk, but there are some people who are more at risk than others. Okay? And so the protection measures that are in place, and people need to understand this very clearly. The protection measures being put in place are to protect our vulnerable population. Right? We see a lot on TV about the deaths and so on and so forth. That's happening. That is really what's throwing persons into the panic mode, because for them it means this is a pandemic, all of us are going to die. Truth, all of us will not die.
Right.
Okay? 80% of people who get this virus do well. 80%. I mean, so although you see the numbers and you see the things on TV,
right,
which is why one of the number one things I've been saying to people is maybe you need to shut off the TV. Shut off the TV and shut off the social media for X number of hours every day. Okay, because what's being shown and what's being played up is the negative side of the disease. And
I think they want a response. Like, they want to play with your emotions.
Yeah, and that's news. I mean, those of us who study, that's how news works, right? So 80% of persons who get the disease will be fine. And a significant percentage of that 80% will be asymptomatic, which means you will not even get sick.
Yeah.
Okay? So
I think that's scary too. Well, it seems to be scary that we are preparing for something that one can't see really. So, it's like I can't say that COVID-19 is on that chair. I can't see it. I won't know when or where, if it should affect me.
Yes.
Even with announcing that we have positive cases in the territory, there's only so much information that could be given.
Right.
So persons are still in the dark about, well, is it my neighbor or is it a coworker? I mean, certain people will know, but others, the majority, wouldn't know.
And the truth is, although we know we have 2 positive cases, okay, how many other cases do we have?
That's the thing.
And so that is why the advice about being almost obsessive about that personal protection is important. So essentially, treat everybody that you come across as if they may be positive.
You're at risk. Wash your hands.
Right. So that's why that information is given. The social distancing. There's a science behind it.
We got about
enough right here. Yeah. Right. There's a science behind it. So it is not the advice being given is not just pulled out of a hat.
Right.
It really does work. I mean, if you've been watching the news, and the governor in New York, he's now starting to say that he thinks the social distancing is starting to put them ahead of the curve. It does work, right? Stay 6 feet away from 3 to 6 feet away from people. Okay, we know how the disease is spread. Okay, ignore all of the myths and the conjectures that are out there.
That's a
right?
good one.
Stop playing into that stuff.
How do you get people to stop playing into it?
You have to kind of make, if it is affecting you negatively, if you realize that all of the information that you're getting is causing you to feel more anxious, switch it off. You don't really need to know all that.
Because it got a lot of conspiracy
there's
theories.
Conspiracies.
I mean,
there's
our own
the end of the
premier,
world
I'm sure
coming,
he's tired of fake news. This is fake news. I mean,
yes.
Leave the people let them get their job done.
Yes. And so one of the things that I recommended to one of the first groups I spoke to was make a personal commitment, because that's the other thing, Adriana. A lot of this is about each individual, each of us taking personal responsibility and making personal commitments. So make a personal commitment not to engage in fake news, fake journalism, fake media, none of this, any of the stuff, the cures, all the things that are going. Stop it. Okay, because it doesn't help the situation.
Gargle lime water.
It doesn't help anybody. Okay, this is a new situation. There's a lot we're learning, and there are reputable sites out there that give you accurate information that even you as a layperson can go to. Go to the CDC website.
Right.
Go to the WHO website. Go to PAHO website. There's sections on there for the general public.
Yeah.
That's where you need to get your information from. Everything else, cut it off. People send stuff to your Facebook page, blank it. They send stuff to your WhatsApp.
I mean, I'm going to go wash my hands. Leave me alone.
Yeah. They send stuff to your WhatsApp, block the WhatsApp. So that will help with some of the anxiety, because if you tune out a lot of the negativity, then that's one step. You're a step ahead, right? But the personal protection is important, and making sure that you do what you should do to help to protect you, your family, and then your community at large.
That concludes part 1 of my special 2-part GIS report on coping with COVID-19. For more information on COVID-19, please visit www.bvi.gov.vg/COVID-19. If you've also recently traveled and are exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19, such as shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, cough, or fever and fatigue, please call the medical hotline at 852-7650. Again, reporting for the Ministry of Health and Social Development, I am your host, Adriana Salvarol. Until next time, thank you for tuning in.